Today, what I specifically want to talk to you about is not an illusion. It's not a fabrication. It is absolute truth. It is all about reality. I'm specifically talking to you about developing the skill of resilience. I guess we should start at the end. My name was being announced and I was absolutely terrified. And the reason I was terrified was because I was strapped firmly, tightly into a device called a straitjacket. My arms were secured behind me like this, and when my name was announced, I was terrified because I was getting ready to walk out on stage and tell the entire world my deepest, darkest, most embarrassing secret.
The 7-year-old was seated in the passenger side next to his dad on his way to school. As he traveled on his way to school, he was continuously rubbing his chin against his collarbone, and he couldn't stop. He'd been doing this on and off for several days, and his neck was starting to get red and irritated. The boy was frustrated. He just kept doing it over and over and over, and he could not stop. 6 years later, the 13-year-old sat in the doctor's office. He'd been to numerous doctors before, but none of them really knew what the problem was. There were talks of obsessive-compulsive behavior, movement disorders, and ADD, but this doctor was different. This pediatric neurologist knew exactly what the problem was. Tourette's syndrome, and she started the teenager on medication that did little to stop the annoying tics and twitches.
When you're like me and you have these uncontrollable tics, and sometimes people literally make fun of you for no fault of my own. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't catch Tourette syndrome because I made some dumb decision. I've had Tourette syndrome my entire life. But when you have this and people make fun of you, when they try to make you feel small, when they try to alienate you or embarrass you, you develop resilience. You do, naturally. Just like when you live through a pandemic, when you don't get to go to school, when your life completely changes, when the things that you were planning in normal life completely have to go away because we're in an extraordinary circumstance, guess what? You develop resilience. Or maybe you don't. The idea of resilience is the ability to recover quickly from difficulties. And specifically what I'm talking about when I'm talking about resilience is I'm talking about a mental toughness. We're not talking about physical resilience. We're talking about a mental toughness.
Let me tell you a time when I was scared. Doing this. I didn't want to do this. Not stand in front of you. I didn't want to talk about this. I was into my 30s and I would not talk to anyone about having Tourette syndrome. I really didn't even want to talk to my parents about it. I didn't want to say the words. Scared the hell out of me because it was my weakness.
I had to learn how to develop compassion. Compassion is the ability to see the pain and the willingness and the want to relieve the pain. To know that there is pain and that is absolutely natural and normal in life and to relieve that pain. You know, the golden rule says to treat other people the way you wish to be treated. But what if instead of treating other people the way that we want to be treated, what if we treated ourselves the way that we want to be treated? What if instead of me looking at myself saying, this is your big weakness, this is the thing that makes you less than everybody else, what if instead of that, what if I viewed myself as my best friend?
Jason, I thought your time with this group was spot on and couldn't have been more meaningful for a group of people who do work to improve people's lives every day, and I think what you did for us today has helped us make our lives better. For that, we thank you so much.
Perspective is the ability to see the big picture even when you're caught up in the middle of everything. So there's a famous saying that says, don't get lost in the trees and miss the forest. The idea is that when you're in the middle of the forest and all the trees are surrounding you, you're completely surrounded and all you can see are all the trees. You can't see past them. But if you were to look at the forest from an airplane and you'd be looking down on it, you would see the entire forest, or at least a huge portion of it. And it's not the same point of view as being inside the forest. With the Tourette syndrome tics, sometimes they're extremely, the doctors call them waxing and waning. And when they wax, they're extremely intense. They happen a lot. They're very difficult to live with. And when they wane, they're much fewer, they're much less, they're much easier to live with. When I'm dealing with the waxing portion of the Tourette's and I have these really big tics, I have to remember that a season is different from a lifetime.
My name is Amy Crockett. I'm with the Correctional Management Institute of Texas, and we asked Jason Michaels to present at our mental health conference to over 375 corrections professionals across the state of Texas. To see them coming out of the presentation inspired, excited, smiling, and giving me positive feedback made it worth the opportunity to have him here.
The healthy pleasures in life crowd out the unhealthy thoughts. Now, this is one of the most important resilience tools I can share with you. So listen, write this down, remember this. The healthy pleasures that I can take pleasure in, the things that I can be thankful for, crowd out the unhealthy thoughts. It is huge. That is a huge thing. So what can you be thankful for? Can you make that choice to be thankful? So as we wrap this up, we end kind of back at the beginning. I told you at the beginning we would begin at the end. So I am standing on the side of the stage. I got asked to do a TEDx talk. It was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I wanted to tell my story of living with Tourette syndrome. And I had to figure out how to do it quickly. So what I did was I took an idea that comes from magicians and escape artists, the idea of escaping from a straitjacket. And I said, I'm going to tell my story in like just a couple of minutes. I'm going to tell the entire story in just a few minutes.
Disorder like Tourette syndrome and a genuine talent and passion for performing for live audiences. He thought about time spent on cruise ships and performing arts centers and at private functions. And then his name was announced and he stepped out on stage before you here today.
Number one, be willing to own it. Number two, talk about it. Resilience tool number three, have compassion for yourself. Number four, make sure you see the world with perspective. And finally, what can you be grateful for? What a pleasure. What a pleasure to share this time with you. I am so thankful for the opportunity to share my story, these resilience tools with you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention. My name is Jason Michaels. I'm coming to you all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.